One Question is designed to give subscribers valuable insights on how executive leaders in college athletics think about key issues on their respective campuses, in their departments, or within their leagues and conferences.
Greetings, this is Ty Brown and welcome to One Question. Let's pick up where we left our conversation with David Shaw, head football coach at Stanford University. Right, and what you're saying, if I can sum it up even more based on the question I asked, is like the conversation you've always had is actually becoming a lot more important now than it was before. Let's take it on another level here real quick. I saw you out there. You were talking to Bob Bowlesby. He was an athletic director when you began at Stanford, and now the athletic director is Bernard Muir. When you talk about adults and leading staff and evaluating staff, how is the environment with the athletics department to you as a coach, and then to your staff, in terms of that conversation, a mature version of the conversation you have with the kids, right? How does that play out in your environment?
Well, we've had a lot of those conversations at Stanford, partially because, and we believe we're getting the best of the best, honestly. And it's not just football. I mean, we're getting high-level achievers at Stanford University. These are accomplished young people coming in, but in my opinion, they're coming in without some of the groundwork that is necessary to be successful. And I've heard somebody refer to this generation as the peach generation because they bruise too easily. Right or wrong, but there's some element to that. And for us, on a high education level, to realize that this is who's coming in, there are great kids. They are smart. They are bright. They are exposed to a lot. They have untold possibilities of things that they could achieve. But there's a deficiency there, and it's our job to recognize it, to help them recognize it, because we just recognize it doesn't matter. They need to recognize, okay, here's where you're deficient. Here's where we can help you be more consistent, be more able to handle difficult situations, and come back and have the resolve to be strong in character, strong in your mentality, strong in your work ethic, to fight through things that are difficult. Whereas the narrative that's coming into our world with these young people is, if it's hard, quit.
Right. Transfer.
If they don't pat you on the back, then transfer. If you're not a superstar by the time you're a sophomore, then there's something wrong with the coaches, and you need to go someplace else where they appreciate you. As opposed to being those young people who say, hey, if it takes me to be a junior or a senior before I reach my potential, then that's fine. I'm going to let these people push me and hold me to a high standard. And if I don't understand, I can go to them and ask them why, and they can give me a program to say, here's what we think you can do, and here's the way for you to get there. And they walk across that stage after graduating, after having great playing seasons, and look back and say, I'm glad those coaches were hard on me. I'm glad they didn't let me achieve early on, because I probably wouldn't have been able to handle it. That's that maturity that people have going through difficult times and sticking to it, and having people push them and be hard on them, and love them at the same time. And that's what's having a great conversation with some people on a psychology thing. That's really what we're talking about, is the ability to be critical and have people be critical upon you, and being able to take that criticism without being defensive, without saying, you're just wrong. You just don't think that I'm as good as I think I am, so I'm going to go someplace else. So somebody can tell me how great I am, that's where I'm going to go be a superstar. That's what's hard, and what our world is not teaching. It's a really simple word that is very, very complicated for a lot of our young people right now. Is humility. You can't self-evaluate unless you're humble enough to say that I'm not perfect.
No, I'm not perfect, exactly. And I asked a question relative to Bowlesby and Muir, because how does Stanford, from the outside looking in, looks like they run things well, right? Obviously, nobody's perfect, but they run things well. How is that approached in terms of when you're evaluated, in terms of the grown-ups in the room, right? How is the approach to, hey guys, we got a lot to work on here, or we're not perfect, without pointing somebody out? In football, we do point people out real quick and say, hey, you need to work on some things. Like how was that conversation on the administrative level and on the staff level with you and your coaches?
For me, I self-evaluate a lot, and there's a danger to it, because I don't think the young people see it enough and understand it enough. So we lost to Washington State this year. I went in the locker room. I told the guys, hey, I made a mistake. A big chunk of this is on me. And I had some blank stares from the guys. We came back a couple days later in our team meeting. I said the same thing again. There are things that I could have done better to help us win, and I promise you I'm going to do those things from going forward. I was not perfect last week, and I don't think these young people are used to seeing someone in particular, someone in a position of power, truly say, I screwed up. That's on me. It's so easy from somebody in my position to say, well, that guy didn't make that block, that guy didn't catch that ball, the referee didn't make the call right. I wanted them to see me, and I'm being completely honest and open and saying, hey, you know what? I wasn't good enough this week. And I feel bad for you guys that I let you down. That, to me, opens the door for somebody else who's not the head coach to be able to say that same thing and say, you know what, coach? I was wrong too. I didn't do what I could have done. I could have been better this week. So those of us in positions of power, we can't be so driven by our own status and the picture that we need to have, that we want people to have of us, which those pictures are never accurate because we're all human beings. But to be able to stand there and say, you know what, I was wrong. I can be better. And I'm okay if you hold me to a higher standard because I want to be held to a high standard. And if I can do that, then I should be able to expect my coaches and my players to do that same thing, and not in a way to be overly judgmental, but the way to say, you know what, let's just be open and honest. If you made a mistake, stand in front of your brothers and say you made a mistake. And they'll accept that and still hold you to a higher standard. So, okay, next time you go out there, we need your best.
Right. Exactly. Well, this information is excellent information. I am the same as you. I want a essay given back to me with red marks all over it so I can know how to improve, right? If it just says perfect on it, how am I going to know how to get better? So this philosophy, you can see it throughout your program at Stanford as long as you've been the head coach there. I definitely appreciate you joining me today on One Question.
Good to see you, Ty.
Yes, sir. That was David Shaw. David is the head coach at Stanford University, and this is Ty Brown with One Question. And keep in mind, the role of a leader is to create and maintain an environment that people want to be a part of. And as always, be better tomorrow than you are today. This episode of One Question is produced by Spades Media Group, solving problems using creative leadership.